Right now, if you think your life is boring, or you're like, you know what, there's nothing interesting about me or what I do, switch it up. Why are you not living a more interesting life? Right? That should be the question. It shouldn't be like, well, can I learn about more topics or things to say? No, it's like, live a more interesting life. And immediately when you hear this, you're probably thinking, oh, well, that's expensive. I'm too poor to live an interesting life. Right? That's actually the thought. I'm too poor to live an interesting life. What? No. In reality, and this is big, by the way, the less money you have, the more interesting the life, in a way. The crazier the life, in a way. Okay, I always take it back to if you're traveling and say you go to Europe. You're like, you know what, I'm going to go to Europe for 2 weeks, go on an adventure. And say there's two people. There's one who has a lot of money and one who doesn't. Which one would have the more adventurous journey in Europe? The person who's broke as shit, takes the plane where there's like 2 layovers, sitting in the back and just like, you know, going on the fucking bus at the airport trying to find where they're going to staying at a shitty ass hostel with like 8 other people. Or the other person who's like, you know what, first class. Fuck, you're not just first class. I want like the first row, like I want the whole first class just for me. I arrive there, I want a fucking limo driver, and I want to stay up at the penthouse of this place. Okay, that's cool. It's very comforting, it's very convenient, but which one makes for the better story? Do you really have to think? It's like, oh, you know, those beds were very cushy at that nice hotel. No! It's the person who's like, oh man, and I got in this place and it was crazy and disgusting in the hostel, and oh my God, this one person in the hostel shat the bed and all this shit. Like, way more interesting story. Right? Way more interesting and a lot cheaper. Now, let's go even cheaper than that. How can you do it for free? Literally break the routine. If you look at your weekly routine, you know, we all think our life it changes all the time. It's not true. It's like it's very predictable. What can you do that will just break that?
Come here. Move.
Come here is one. But you know what else? Say on the weekend, leave your phone at home. And it's like, oh, leave your phone at home. Walk out the front door. Make a right. And keep walking straight for 40 minutes. And see where you end up. And guess what? Now you're on a little adventure. You don't got your phone. You don't have GPS anymore. You're in this new ass place. I guess you could walk 40 minutes back, but now you're like, well, here I am. That is an adventure. And guess what? Just that, you don't think that's interesting to talk about? It's like, hey, nice to meet you. You know what I did yesterday? Walked 30 minutes to the right. They're like, what? And there's your story. You're like, yeah, you know, I was kind of a boring fuck and I went to this weird seminar and this guy said, just turn right and walk straight and here I am. You know, just that will make it way more interesting. A lot of activities, you can do them for extremely cheap. Go out and do crazy shit. You just got to put yourself in those situations where stuff can happen. You got to get out of that comfort, you know, first class padded routine that is life. Switch it up. For real. Imagine, too, when you do this, by the way, that you're coaching you. Because that's the key. Because you know all your excuses. Even hearing this, you're like, that's a great idea, but I'm never going to do it. Right? And say you need to. It's like, you know what? I'm never going to do this, but I know it would help me. Coach yourself. You know your own psychology. Like, say you're your own coach and you told yourself, tomorrow, walk for 40 minutes to the right. What excuses are you going to come up with? And say you had to coach you. How can you make it so that you do it? That's the frame of mind I take, by the way. I know all my excuses and I know all my comebacks, and it's the perfect challenge to try to, you know, trick myself into taking right action because I know how my mind works. You should do the same. If you had to coach you and create a situation where it was impossible for you to not do it, what would you do or say to yourself so that you did it? And then do that. Okay? And it's funny too, little side tangent here, how we tend to think that so much of growth is uncomfortable. Like going out and say dealing with different social pressure, or say there's something you're procrastinating with now, you're like, ugh, it's just this drag to do. It really isn't if you take that frame of mind of coaching yourself. How can you do it so you just don't have a choice? And as soon as you don't have a choice, now it's gone. The back and forth, what's weighing you down is when there's an option. You want to know how to not have a choice? Right now, whatever it is you're procrastinating on, give $1,000 to your friend and tell your friend, if I don't do this, you keep the money. You're going to do whatever it is you're fucking procrastinating on, assuming 1,000 is a considerable sum for you. If not, give them 10,000, 20,000. Now with that, you know the hardest part? It's a second. It's, here, man. That's it. That's the hardest part, is giving your friend the cash. After that, you don't have a choice. So there's no longer, should I, shouldn't I? I'm going to fucking do it or I lose the money. So operate like that. You got to be smart. If it's this big drag, start thinking practically. How can I coach myself? How can I create all these different situations so that I don't have a choice? And then you just do those split seconds of uncomfort where you give your buddy the money, and now you just do it. And you just keep doing that, and it becomes very easy.